Welcome to Ask an MS Expert. I'm John Strum, your moderator and host of the Real Talk MS podcast. Each week, Real Talk MS reaches thousands of people in more than 100 countries around the world with the news that people affected by MS need to know. My wife, Jean, lived with progressive MS for 23 years, so I've had a front row seat experiencing all the ways that MS can impact a family. Today, I'll be asking our expert the questions you want answered. Please feel free to post your comments and questions on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. MS Navigators are here throughout today's live program, answering your questions and connecting you to resources. For many Black men, living with MS means navigating not just the physical symptoms, but also the emotional, cultural, and relational layers that come with it. Intimacy and connection are important components of a happy and healthy life. And while MS can change how the body feels or responds, it doesn't take away from the desire to be loved or loved. Joining us today is Ricky Maxwell. Maxwell is a strong leader in the MS community who works to make sure Black people living with MS feel seen and supported. He leads a support group and shares his story to help others understand the challenges Black men and people of color face with MS. Maxwell encourages people to get help early and live with confidence and purpose. Welcome, Maxwell. Thanks for being
Thanks,
with us
John.
today.
Thank you so much, John. It's a pleasure. I'm honored. You know, I follow you all the time, and I thank you for all you do. Truly appreciate you.
Hey, it is my honor to be talking to you today.
Yes,
And
sir.
I'm hoping you'll start us off by telling us a little about your life before MS.
Well, oh man, where do I start? I've been in law enforcement since 1988. A law enforcement officer. I've worked for several agencies throughout the New York State area, and that was my goal ever since I was a kid. You know, was to be into law enforcement, and it was something that I saw I had a passion for, and something that I really wanted, and I made sure I did it, and I got through it, and I'm glad I did. Now, with that said, now I'm on another journey, but yeah, at this time, it's a very good journey. People will say, how could you say MS journey is a very good journey? I'm loving it, believe it or not.
Well, we're going to get into it. But
Yes.
I'm curious, what were the kinds of things that led up to your diagnosis and what helped you move forward after being diagnosed with
Oh,
MS?
what led up to it was I just one day I woke up one morning and I had my left cheek was numb. I thought I was just tired, or it was just as dumb, or I slept on it or something. And then later on, I felt my tongue was numb. And long story short, called the doctor. They told me to go to the ER. Went to the ER. Then I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy initially. So I was misdiagnosed for about maybe almost a year. And then finally, I had a great doctor out in Mount Kisco, New York, that really did all the research and found out that it was actually MS.
Well, let's get into living with MS. How has your identity as a Black man shaped the way you've experienced and navigated life with MS?
You know, as a black man and as people of color, just in general, we don't talk about things. We don't share. We don't do psychologists or therapy. You're taught as growing up, you keep everything in house, and that was my initial thing with MS. I kept everything in house with myself, and then I realized I saw how much of that was boiling up within me, that I needed an outlet, and I found that outlet with the National MS Society. And I went and did my research, and I looked for groups in my area, and I actually found a group in my area, and I attended one day, and it was probably one of the best days of my life. And I tell you, before I entered that group, I was in a part. I tell people this story all the time because I traveled throughout the country with my speaking engagements. I was sitting in my car before I walked into the building, and I cried like a baby. I cried, I cried, I cried. And that was my first, I felt that I accepted and acknowledged I had MS at that moment. And then when I entered that group, I felt so secure. I felt so safe. My mentor, Elise Holtzman, was the leader of the group at that time. She's still so important to me to this day, and it gave me a new outlook on life, and I saw that I was not the only person living with MS.
How has your MS diagnosis impacted your dating life and your interpersonal relationships?
Oh man, that's really, and I tell you, me being a secured man my whole life, and not law enforcement, college graduate, working in politics, and the whole different things I've done. I tell you, it broke me at one point because you lose who you are sometimes. You get too wrapped up in the MS diagnosis and you really lose who you are. And that happened to me. I lost who I was. And I went through a very like low self-esteem. I did not see myself as I saw myself prior in my life and all the accomplishments I've done. And it got to a point, and I tell you, and I speak about this. I'm an open book. At one point, I got in a relationship that was toxic, and I knew it was toxic, and I didn't leave it because I didn't want to go through that process of meeting somebody again and telling them, "Oh, I have invest, I have this, I have that." So I sat back and accepted it until it got to a level of physical abuse. And I talk about that too. Yes, men are victims of domestic violence, and I was one of them. And I speak about this because people don't like to hear this. And because when it comes down to domestic violence, men are not given the benefit of the doubt. I'm telling you that from a law enforcement aspect, they're not. And I thank God I recorded everything, and everything was recorded and everything like that. But it at that time I realized I can't. I have to put myself on another level. I have to. Sometimes it's better to be by yourself. But I know I was in that situation because I did not want to move on and start over again, and just think about MS. Tell somebody you have MS because it's not a comfortable conversation discussing that you have MS, and especially when as a man. You don't want to, you don't, as a black man, it's not comfortable. It's not something you want to talk about, so it's, I was definitely in a toxic situation. I brought that on myself. I'm thank God I'm out of there. But and I tell everybody, please remove yourself from toxic people, people who don't have your best interests at heart, people who want to do you harm, because as you know, and I know, stress is our enemy, and but I learned, you live and learn. You live and learn your whole life, and I take that as a loss and a learning experience.
Heard from Davion, who lives with
Mm,
MS, and he
mm.
said something you just said a moment ago, that he was raised not to talk about his feelings. What would you say to Davion and other men who may feel the same way?
Oh man, talk, open up. Let me tell you, I lived a life in a box. you know, how you raise, my career, everything. The best thing you could do is talk, communicate, get it off your chest. I'm telling you, like I was telling you, I'm living my best life, not hiding that I have MS, still, and embracing it, and communicating it. And with that said, you're learning a lot. You learn a lot when you communicate and you open up. And believe it or not, there's more people that's in your situation that's not. But if you communicate, you'll find those people, and that's something what the MS Society does very well, like with the support groups and all the activities. bringing people together and letting people feel you're not alone. So yeah, I say talk, get involved. The first thing there is to know that you're not alone. Once you get to that level, once you get to that point of knowing you're not alone, you is nowhere but up from there.
I want to circle back to something else you said a moment ago. And I'm wondering, how do you think cultural pressures to stay strong make it hard to open up about your MS symptoms and emotional needs with a partner?
It does, and I experienced that too with my fiance now, I trying to be a better communicator, but I'm not the best, and I'm trying, and she gets on me now. I mean, she's a fabulous woman. I'm still learning, and I'm still going to the hoops and stuff, and like this topic is just so important because we were talking about this not too long ago, about like intimacy and stuff like that, and have not communicating is the worst thing you can do, especially for your partner. You know, because you're making your partner feel like they're not part of the relationship or they don't feel valued. And I tell you, you know, you don't want that. You don't want that, especially, you know, and I tell you, in my case, you know, my partner knew I had MS from the first time we went out. And ever since then, she's been nothing but a rock to me, you know, and been my support. So I do not want her to feel that way, but it's still hard to come out and communicate and talk about certain things, you know. And we've had a conversation, well, tried to have a conversation a while ago that eventually we did, you know. I want to communicate more, and I'm doing much better. And I think it is the best thing you need to do for your partner because you want them to feel like they're part of you, especially if they sitting there and you see them managing you and your MS symptoms and stuff like that. You know that they're part of you. You know, you want them to, you know, you that person is there, so you want to communicate with that person and let them know, hey, I appreciate you, I thank you, you know. But it is hard to do. You know, I'm telling you now, I'm not perfect at it, but I'm definitely getting better.
So, how do you think others in the Black community might navigate these cultural pressures and find more opportunities for that personal connection?
One thing is what we're doing right now. Hearing somebody else talk about it and say, listen, I'm living it. I'm experiencing it. You seeing a black man right here telling you, educated, retired law enforcement, all aspects. He's telling you it's okay to talk. It's okay to communicate. It's definitely is in your best interest to communicate and talk. And I tell you, and I know I've gotten better, and I see the results of my communication with my partner. I see it, and I see she feels better. And when she feels better, trust me, I'm gonna feel better. So definitely talk about it. It's a hard thing to do. Definitely in the black community and in people of color, we are told not to communicate. We're raised about keeping everything in house. Myself as a black man, also as a law enforcement man, I have a lot of contributing factors about, you know, being strong and keeping everything to yourself, and you know. But I tell you, the most important thing you can do is talk about it. I'm telling you, and I'm learning that from my partner. She's making me a better person. I tell you, talk about it, communicate, get out the norm. Think outside the box. Think about, is all whatever I'm doing now, is it working? Probably not. So let me try something else. And I guarantee you, you tried it something else, it will turn out for the best.
Well, since we've mentioned her a few times now, can you tell us a little about your partner and how the two of you met?
Sure. My partner, yeah, Yasmin, she's retired on the job also. She's a several property owner. She's a businesswoman, and she's fabulous. We travel all year long. We're cruise junkies. She definitely takes care of me. She makes sure I'm good every day. You took your medicine. You did this. You did that. You know, and she's on me all the time about certain things, and I appreciate it. And I remember the first time we met. We went to eat, and I sat there, and my something my niece and I we talked about many years in general. I never told people I had MS initially, and my niece, which is my partner, I love her to death. She said, "Unc, you have to tell people you have MS from day one. You have to let them know." And then I start doing that. And I remember I told Yasmin, we were sitting there eating, I told her I had MS. And the first thing she said was, "Okay." She knew what it was because she was a nurse prior, or she was a nurse and then she got into law enforcement. So she has two backgrounds, professional background. So she knew exactly what it was, and she's like, "Okay." She said, "Thanks for telling me. All right, so let's go on." That made me feel so good because I'm looking at this accomplished woman, and it wasn't an issue for her. That's why now I said to myself, even with the communication thing, I have to do better because I see who I have by my side from day one. And it's a journey, and but I'm trying to do the best I could. But she's a fabulous person.
So, given your experience, what's your advice for how and when you share your diagnosis with someone new?
I tell you, initially, I didn't do it initially. And when I first met them, I did not. And my niece, we had this conversation years ago, and she was like, "Oh, you have to tell somebody. You have to tell them from day one, because you have to let people know they have to have an informed decision." And my niece is my rock. Whatever we talk about, and I sat back and yeah, I was in the, said, "Nah, maybe not." But I say, it does make sense. But the best thing you can do is just let them know from day one. Let them know I have MS. This is what it is. If you don't know what it's about, we have phones. You could Google it, whatever. And most people appreciate it. Because I know when I travel in groups and go to different groups and stuff, we talk about stuff like that. And I've known from experience from hearing from others that people really were not turned down when they opened up about their MS diagnosis. The person they was meeting or interacting with really wasn't an issue with them. So opening up from the from the beginning, I think is the best thing you could do. That's in general, but because you want somebody to be informed.
What was it that helped you learn to be vulnerable or ask for support?
Elise Holtzman, my mentor from the MS Society. I'm sorry. That's the first woman I saw when I went to that group, and she embraced me on the phone talking to her prior, and she embraced me when I got to the group. And from interacting with her and seeing how she interact with everybody in her group, it made me, oh man, made me feel like, yes, I could be vulnerable. I could sit back and say, you know what? Hey, yeah, I have MS. So what? She gave me such a sense of peace and tranquility. And I said, from from interacting with her to this day, this is not a time when I go out and travel and I speak, I don't talk about her. Her name always comes up because that's how important that she is in my life with this MS journey. Yes.
I'm curious, how have you seen your communication with Yasmin evolve as your relationship has grown over time?
Well, the communication is basically on me. It has evolved because I'm talking more. Because usually she say, "How you feeling?" I'm okay, but she wants to know how I'm feeling. She wants the details. I say I'm okay. But no, I learned if she asks me how I'm feeling, she know I'm not feeling good, or she know I'm tired. She wants to hear me say I'm tired, or I'm not feeling good, or if we going out, are you right? You need a rest or anything? I'm good. No, she's a person who needs detail. she's a, she's a detailed person. So and I learned that I have to do better and I can't just say I'm okay. I'm good. Everything's all right. No, I can't do that. Especially when you see somebody, they're not good. You see they tired. You see something's going on. Trust me. I know I'm visible. It's visible how I'm feeling. So yeah, I learned, especially with her, she wants to know. She wants to hear it, and she wants you to be honest. So yeah, definitely got to be upfront, and don't mess around with her. Put it that way.
Yeah, I'm smiling because, we're guys. Somebody
Yeah.
asks us how we are. We say we're good if our face
Yes.
is on fire, right? I mean,
Yes. 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 Yes.
I get it.
Yeah. Even in your career, in my career, you don't show weakness. There's no
Right.
weakness. You could be sitting up there in the middle of an altercation or whatever. Your bone could be half broken. You're gonna get up and stand up strong because you can't show weakness. You're taught that. Well, I was taught that as a kid growing up, and then you're taught that in your career. So now, showing weakness and showing vulnerability, it's not the norm.
So, what's the best way for partners to start this, to start talking about these important but sensitive issues in an open and honest way?
You know, I have to say, what I have initiated the conversations about certain things. No, Yasmin did. And since she did, I realized I have to be part of that conversation because I don't want to make her feel a certain way. You know, but one of the things you could do, I tell you, one thing that helped me out with communicating with this is going to the support groups and seeing and understanding certain aspects. That definitely opened me up in regards to communicating and being more open and being free about who I am and what I'm experiencing. I'll say that's one thing. But if you have somebody by your side, the best thing you could do is communicate, 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 because communication is the key. And if that person's by your side, they only there for your best interest. They want to be there for you. They want to support you. Trust me, there's a lot of people we find in this community, with the MS community, that are not there for you. They have no, I know so many people traveling, husbands has left, wives have left, people have disconnected themselves from you because of your illness and stuff like that. So if you have that person who's going to be there for you and want to question, and they're not questioning to be nosy, they questioning to take care of you. You have to sit back and fall back and say, you know what? I have to do better. And that's what I said with myself. I have to do better. You have to do better, especially the person had your best interest at heart.
What kinds of barriers to intimacy did you face while you're managing your MS symptoms? And how did you and Yasmin work to stay close during those times where things were probably a little tough?
And I tell you, and like I said, I'm an open book. I speak about this. Um, One of the things I have is um, the urge or lack of. And that's something, the ability is there, but the urge is not there anymore, or I shouldn't say it's not where it was. And it's not because of Yasmin. It's myself. Because when we have this MS, all you're thinking is about, you're thinking about your MS and thinking about where your next step is going to be if you're going to get to another stage of this MS journey. So I know for myself, I think so much, and I know the urge is definitely not there where it was, where I was before. And I'm sure it's the MS that's doing that. But what I'm doing is communicating with her, talking to her, letting her know, tell her what's going on. Tell her and to communicate and let her know. And sometimes get out of your own head. But that's one of the things that I'm definitely doing is whatever I'm thinking or whatever's going on, or if the urge is not there, I'm making sure the urge is there. So I'm flipping the script in my own head and say, listen, there's no urge, but you know what? There's an urge, and I'm gonna, because even though, because my urge is to make sure my partner is satisfied and that she's taken care of.
We heard from Chantal, who lives with depression, which is a common MS symptom,
Yes.
and she never feels in the mood to be sexual with her partner.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you share with others who struggle with mood changes like depression or
Yes.
anxiety or
Yes.
grief, each of which can affect our sexual health?
And I tell you, it is so real. Because my thinking is where I'm going to be 5, 10 years from now. That's what kills my brain, and that's what gets you. But it's so easy for us, the MS journey, to go through all this stuff in our head. But what we need to do is sit there and say, you know what? We have to think about our partner. I know it's easy said than done, but you have to put your thoughts and feelings to the side and say, I have to think about my partner and what he or she may need or want, because they are here with us. They are managing this MS journey with you. They love you, they care for you, they took a vow, but we have to do our part. And our part may not be the norm, because I hear that a lot. There's no urge for intimacy with this MS journey. And a lot of people are either capable of being intimate and functioning and stuff, but the urge is just not there. And I'm one of them. And we have to get out of our heads and think about our partner. And when you do it, you'll see how satisfactory it is for your partner, and it will make you think about doing it more and more, of getting out of our own heads.
Well, you've shared some very important insights about intimacy and relationships.
Mhm.
Maxwell, what'd you say is the top takeaway that you'd like our viewers to remember and use?
And I say this a lot. Um, know your worth. Just because you have MS doesn't mean you're unworthy. Okay? Everybody has something. When you meeting somebody and interacting with somebody, everybody has something. So they may not have MS, but everybody has something going on in their life, physically, mentally, whatever. Nothing is always hunky dory with everybody. You know, love yourself first. Love you for once, because people will see that security in you. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair or a walker. People will see that security in you and see that light in you, because I know many people who are in relationships, married. They met the partner while they was in the wheelchair or a walker. They dated, they're married now. The other person is quote unquote able bodied, and they living their best life. They did not look at this person because they was in a walker or a wheelchair, that there was a burden. They looked at that person that it was a blessing, and they got together, and some of them are actually married to this day. So know who you are, know your worth, and understand. And the one last thing I would say, and this is something I experienced: don't settle. Don't settle. Don't settle. Don't put yourself in a situation that is not in your best interest, or may harm you, or harm your surroundings. Don't settle, but keep your head up. Keep smiling, because a smile is something that's very, very important. People see that personality, especially a man. A man sees a woman with a person that, you know, they want to see a person with a jolly, with a smile on their face, then they'll approach you. So I tell you, just always keep your head up. Don't settle, and keep an open mind. Definitely keep an open mind of interacting with people, because just because you see yourself in a wheelchair and that guy's on the other side, that don't mean he's not looking at you, he's not attracted to you. So keep an open mind. You never know.
Well, thanks for being with us today, Maxwell.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor, and I truly appreciate you, sir.
Today's program survey has now been posted in the chat for your feedback. Please take a minute and complete it to help us create programs and topics with you in mind. Please be sure to visit the National MS Society's website for information and resources on MS, connection opportunities, and ways for you to get involved. You can also connect with an MS Navigator to receive personalized support by phone, email, or through the Society's website by chat. A recording of today's program will be posted on the MS Society's website at nationalmssociety.org/msexpert, as well as on Facebook and YouTube. Finally, I'll invite you to join me each week on the Real Talk MS podcast, where we continue the conversation that we start here. You can find Real Talk MS on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Thanks for joining us for Ask an MS Expert. We'll see you next week.